Hello students, how are you all? Hope you all are good. Today we are going to study another poem, A Tiger in the Zoo by Leslie Norris. But before we read the poem, let's have a quick look at the biography of the poet. Born on 21st May 1921, George Leslie Norris was a prize-winning Welsh poet and short story writer. He taught at academic institutions in Britain and the US, including Brigham Young University. Norris is considered one of the most important Welsh writers of the post-war period. Norris published his first poem in 1938, and by 1943 he published his first book of poetry. His career as a poet began to take off when his first collection, Finding Gold, was published in 1967. He was awarded many a times for his literary works. Leslie died on 6th April 2006 in Provo, USA. Well, now let's have a look at the central idea of the poem. The poem written by Leslie Norris explains the agony and helplessness of a caged tiger that lives in a zoo. The poet explains what his life could be if he had been a free animal. The poet has tried to explain about the condition of animals that are caged by human beings for their own fun. Now, let's read the poem in detail. Stanza 1. He stalks in his vivid stripes, the few steps of his cage, on pads of velvet quiet, in his quiet rage. Here the poet says that the tiger is confined in the zoo and is moving around in the cage under his bright colored skin. He further says that the tiger can take only a few steps because the cage is small and it is quite uneasy to move in it. One cannot hear his footsteps because he has very soft feet, like velvet, because of which there is no sound of the tiger's footsteps. The tiger tries to control his anger by quietly walking in the limited area of his cage. He is angry because he is not free. Stanza 2. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass, near the water hole where plump deer pass. The poet says that if this tiger was free, he would have hid himself behind the long grass near the water bodies so that he could easily catch a deer in order to have its food. Basically, the poet wants to say that the actual life of a tiger is to live in jungle, where he could catch his prey and eat it, but the tiger in the cage cannot do so. Stanza 3. He should be gnawing around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. The poet says that if the tiger would have been free, he would have gnawed around the houses located at the outskirts of the forest. He would have terrorized people with his sharp teeth and claws. He would have created fear among the people living in the villages. Stanza 4. But he's locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. Now the poet comes to the reality of the tiger that is inside the cage. He says that the tiger is confined in a strong cell which is made of a strong building material. He further says that as the tiger is behind bars, so his ferociousness is also behind the bars. He just stalks in the cage. He never tries to terrorize the visitors because his power is restricted by the cage. Therefore, he never tries to terrorize the visitors as he cannot attack them. Stanza 5. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. The poet says that in the night the tiger hears the sounds of patrolling cars. Patrolling cars are the vehicles of police which are used to guard at night. So, in the night, the tiger hears the sound of these cars. He then stares at the shining stars with the shining eyes. The poet wants to say that the tiger is sad and he's confined in the cage. So, he cannot do anything. Therefore, he stares at the stars in the night and tries to divert his thoughts towards them. Well, now let's study the literary devices used in the poetry. Personification. The tiger has been personified by the poet as it has been given a human form by referring it to as he. Assonance. Repetitive sound of a vowel in a line is called assonance. Example, sound of vowel I in the line in his vivid stripes. In his vivid stripes. You can hear the prominence of the letter I. Next poetic device is enjambment. Here one line is continuing to the next line without any punctuation mark. Hence, it's enjambment. Metaphor. Tiger's paws are directly compared with velvet without using as or like pads of velvet. Hence, it's a metaphor. Imagery. The poet tries to create an image of the tiger that is caged. Hence, imagery is used. Onomatopoeia. It's the fact of words containing sounds similar to the noises they describe. For example, gnawing of a tiger. Consonance. Repetitive use of consonant sound is called consonance. Example, stalks in his vivid stripes. Stalks, stripes, S and S. Here, A vowel is coming in stalks, while in stripes, I is coming. Next is oxymoron. Whenever contrasting words, that is adjectives, are used together, it is called oxymoron. Example, quiet rage. They are opposite in meaning but put together. They actually mean calm and angry respectively. At last we have alliteration, same sound words. Example, sound of H in the starting of two words, he hears. Hope children, you all understood the poetry well. Thanks for watching the video.